Can you talk a little bit about versatility and how that can change a series when it's like the last card to play?
Yeah, and I think who've mastered that is over the last like 10 years is Golden State. And the main reason is because of Draymond Green. When we played them in 2015 in the finals, I believe they started the series off. I believe it was either Bogut or David Lee was starting at the center. You know, and you know, obviously we was out without Kevin Love, and unfortunately Kyrie got hurt in overtime of Game 1.
Kevin had a concussion?
Kevin separated shoulder.
Shoulder.
And Kyrie dislocated his kneecap. But we ended up going up 2-1. And because of Draymond and because of Iguodala and because of Sean Livingston, it gave them the dynamic. In Game 4, Draymond started at the 5, Iguodala started at the 4. We stayed pat with our lineup of, you know, Tristan and Timothy Mozgov, myself, J.R. Smith, and I believe Dellavedova. Matt Deli, and it changed the landscape of their team.
Right.
And it's still to this day, the versatility that Draymond allows Steve and that franchise to have, it makes them who they are. And obviously we know Steph does, you know, it goes back to Steph is gonna do what Steph does. You know, and I think that's what the game of basketball is, to be able to have that versatility. To be able to have 6-7 guys that can play big or be able to switch out on guards, you know, having, you know 6'5", 6'4", 6'8", 6'9" across the board to be able to make you so versatile that you always keep the defense or keep the other team at bay. Because there's some teams that just won't change, or they don't have the versatility package to be able to do it.
Right.
You know, so that is huge.
Yeah, they traditionally were happy to start with the center, but what they were saying at this point is we're going to play our last card.
Yeah, we'll play our last card.
Take that off the table. Draymond at 5. So immediately Mozgov has to guard the playmaker. Draymond's the playmaker, and then defensively they can switch. And now, okay, if you want to go to Mozgov in the post, they're not going to you in the post. Right. So they've now played that card. By playing it the entire game, their death lineup. And so now it's a blanking contest. Are you able to stick with it, or are you going to have to go to the point 5?
I think they showed the league a lot. I mean, we did it, obviously, in Miami our second year when Spo was a genius to be able to move Bosh to the 5. You know, we played big early on with Joel Anthony and Chris Bosh, or Udonis Haslem and Chris Bosh. You know, and I think when Bosh went to the 5, it gave us some versatility as well. You know, being more athletic, being a lot longer, being able to open up the court a lot more. Because CB could hit the 3, the corner 3. You know, and that's the game. That's the game, to be able to have those dynamics. I mean, you look at Boston. Boston won it, you know, by how versatile they are. You know, when they added Drew Holiday, it made them so much more dynamic.
Right.
Obviously, the growth of Jason and Jalen, you know, but they're going to be who they are. But to be able to add a guy like Drew Holiday, who is basically a Swiss Army knife, you tell him, what do you need? What do you need, coach? All right, I got it. You know, and that to be able to have those dynamics and have those players, you as a coaching staff, that's something that you dream of, to be able, because every series in the postseason is different.
That's right.
Okay, maybe we need to play bigger this postseason in this series. Okay, now this series requires to be more fast. Okay, now this need to be more physical. Now we need to really dial in and be able to have those cards. To be able to play, you know, Uno. I always got to draw 4 cards. Always got it. You know, you say Uno, I'm right here, I'm ready. As soon as you say Uno, I'm throwing this draw 4 down. That is the luxury. That's the luxury.
And that is the model, having more positionless players. I mean, you can even talk about what's Golden State starting at, the way Boston plays now. I mean, obviously Porzingis, when he plays, is a stretch 5 to protect the rim, but when he doesn't play, they still have positionless basketball. 5 point guards playing blender, lots of threes. Same, in a sense, you could make it a comparison to your Lakers team with AD going to the 5, winning a championship. You could go positionally big, but you could also go with a center and AD next to him. You look at this OKC team.
Yeah.
You know, they not only have all sorts of guys that can switch, guard multiple positions, but can play blender, make open shots, or they can go with the two bigs with Hardenstein. So you're talking about the top teams, like same with Cleveland.
Same with Cleveland.
With the two bigs, or
they
taking
have
one
Mobley
off
at the
floor.
5 or Jared Allen playing right beside him. Yeah, absolutely.
Optionality, and one of the cards has to be being able to switch. The other card is being able to go a little bigger. You know, those cards. Not everyone has.
Not everyone has, and that is a luxury.
That's right. And then you get to the leadership hierarchy, the resilience, toughness, the IQ. And that's what it is. It's the teams that have the profile on the roster, that have the buy-in, that have the leadership, the hierarchy, the resilience, the mental toughness. That's who you see in the finals every year.
There you go.
You having been in the finals, can you talk a little bit about that first blink and what that's like for a team to either be the one that blinks and changes and how that can change things for you, or it can be an admission of inferiority sometimes?
You know, like, I mean, listen, I've been in finals where I felt like the opponent was just more worthy. You know, I mean, my first time going to the finals in 2007, you mentioned the Spurs.
Yeah.
You know, it's not when you play the Spurs. Not only are you trying to defeat the Hall of Fame players, you're also trying to defeat the Hall of Fame coach.
Can I stop you there? Like, was Pop a spy? The military, like, I'm serious.
Yeah, for sure.
He spoke Russian.
Yeah.
He
for sure.
from the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I think he was on his way to be an agent
for
for the United States government. And you're trying to win a basketball game against him.
Yeah, for sure.
I always felt like there was a little bit of a disadvantage or a hill we were trying to climb just with Pop himself.
Yeah, for sure. You can sense it. Like, okay, I have to guard Tony, Manu, Timmy, and then you see, okay, maybe they may be a little tired this quarter, maybe. And then you look to the sideline and you got Pop over there, and he's like on the floor as well, but standing on the sideline.
Right.
So when it comes to like who blinks, and
well, I think before you get to the blink, they never beat themselves.
No, never.
Because to your point prior, their habits.
Yeah.
They were resolute about their habits, so they never beat themselves, and that is exhausting for the other team.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When you go into a series, versus a Greg Popovich team, versus a Bill Belichick football team, we have to beat them.
Right.
They're not going to beat themselves. You know that. So you're already mentally drained before you even get into it. It's like you start to put more pressure on yourself, saying we got to play perfect basketball,
Right.
which is impossible.
Right.
But you put that extra pressure on you because they're not going to beat themselves. So that's where we talk about the blinking game. Yeah. It starts right then and there.
That's a great point.
It starts right then and there, saying, okay, how can we make the greatest team or the greatest players at this moment, because this is what the finals is all about. It's the two teams that's endured adversity, have withstand, the long marathon of a season, and now have put themselves in a position where the sprint happened and they're still here. How can you make them blink? And how can you see and know there's maybe a little small chink in the armor? Right. And once it happened, it's like a fighter, in the 10th round who's been going blow for blow, and he finally sees that other fighter kind of stumbles and hit the ropes.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. And I've been on both sides.
Both sides.
I've been on both sides. I've been a fighter that hit the ropes and was staggering and, maybe hit the ground, standing 8 count, whatever. And I've also been the other one that's pressed the fighter into the corner. Right. And that's just the challenge. That's just how it goes.
It's a great example or a great portal into leadership too, though, because when you're the team that's stumbling, standing 8 count, that to me is what great leadership is. It's not the talking. It's not 30 and 10. No. It's reliability in your approach, mentality, fight, and spirit. Yeah. Right? You got to be able to win when you don't have your fastball. You don't have your best stuff. You got to find a way to win as a leader, and you have to try to drag your team and make them believe that we can win even if we don't have our best stuff. So it's often there's adjustments happening. Then there's standing 8 count, and then they overcome that. Now the series has changed again. Talk to me a little bit about, usually a team blinks, there's an adjustment, then there's a counter adjustment. And then at some point the adjustments stop, and it might be after those first two, and we go back to let's do what we do best. And now it's back to like who wants it more. And all those things, the spirit, the connectivity, the will, that now the game is about that. We know each other too well.
Right.
We've made the adjustments. You're not going back there. We got over that. We're not going back here. You got over that.
Right.
Now it's just back to who wants.
Yeah, you almost look like you're competing versus yourself at that point.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're basically looking in the mirror like I am competing versus myself.
I will not give up.
And I can't until it's over and done with and zeros on that clock. I am competing versus myself.
Right.
It's not even me and you anymore. It's not even about the opponent.
Right.
He knows exactly what the hell I want to do.
Right.
I know exactly what he want to do. I know the sets. I know the commands. I know the calls. I know everything. How can I not allow myself to waver too much to the left, too much to the right, too much up, too much down? How can I stay right here,
focused,
and as that leader of the team, also project that to the guys?
Yeah.
You know, that is the ultimate when it comes to those moments right there. Yeah. That's the ultimate.
Man, I would give anything to be in your shoes right now.
This cover's right around the corner.
Going back to the playoffs, the best time of the
Listen,
year.
at this point in my career, like, I mean, the regular season is fun, it's cool, all right, but I just only care about the playoffs.
It's a drug.
Yeah, like, the moment, you know, I'm all about the process, and I will always be about the process. And now to get to this point, but the postseason, when you have an opportunity, if you have a chance to win it, and you know you have the team to have a chance, doesn't always result into winning it. But if you have a chance and you know you have a fighting chance of walking into this ring and say, we can beat anyone. We can beat anyone. You know we have to play as close to perfect basketball as, you know, obviously we know that, and it takes a lot of luck in the postseason. You know, we understand that, but, you know, when it comes to playoff basketball, man, it's definitely a drug for sure.